But can I ask you a question? You know, the Economic Times, from which we've picked up some data, once the Election Commission put out very detailed constituency-wise data, they started looking at seats where there has been less than 60% turnout, right? And Uttar Pradesh, look at these are the main states where there was some change that was reflected. So we've only, Maharashtra kind of tied between 2019 and 2024, so proving your hypothesis. But UP में, there were 38 seats this time where the turnout is below 60%. This is after 5 phases, I should qualify. Compared to 24 in 2019. Rajasthan में भी मुझे थोड़ा significant लगा, 12 where the turnout is below 60% this time compared to 3. Does this strike you as significant? And of course, overall, the ET found that in 51 seats, there was less than 55% turnout compared to about 30 in 2019. So, what do you make of these this very granular data?
Yeah, so two observations very quickly on that. First of all, instead of looking at the turnout figures of 60 or less than 60, the turnout has to be mapped what that particular seat polled last time and this time. Because every seat has a different turnout in that way. So any seat which has reported more turnout than the last time is more significant than whether that seat reported more than 60 or not. But even in this data, I can tell you one very classical thing. In UP and in Rajasthan, two places where you quoted, particularly in Rajasthan, you will be finding it very amusing that almost like 20 seats of Rajasthan, which were considered as lopsided or which were considered as a given that BJP ka lead bahut zyada yahan rehta hai, the turnout has dropped. But in the 5 seats where the contest was really close, the turnout maintained and went up. In a seat like Barmer, which was highly contested, the turnout significantly went up than the state average. So the 5 seats where the contest was good, the state average se kahi zyada turnout wahan hua. Same is the case of Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh, almost about so far, about 20 odd seats are there where the turnout is way better than the state average, and all those seats are very nicely contested. And the seats which were BJP were having a kind of a really big time lead, not just in the 2 Lok Sabha elections, but also in the Lok Sabha lead of the last 2 assembly elections also. That is where the turnout has dropped. So basically within the states, these seats where the turnout has gone up, they present a different kind of a picture that, okay, these seats are where the turnout is good, and where we should be very, very keen on observing on the counting day what exactly are the trends coming from those particular seats.
So in a way, your basic hypothesis or your argument is, जहां टक्कर की लड़ाई है, वहां turnout अच्छा होगा. जहां लोग bored है, like in चाचा भतीजा, turnout will be low.
अच्छा देखो, जैसे यही तुम्हारा turnout 50% से भी नीचे वाला जो turnout बताया है ना,
जी 55 वाला. Can we go back to that slide?
Can you go back to it? Yeah. So now that number has increased from 30 to 51. You know which 51 seats are there? These 51 seats are those seats particularly where either the opposition has won consequently for 2 or 3 elections non-stop in a row, or the BJP has been winning non-stop in a row by a huge margin. So these seats, 51 seats, include the seats of Kerala, include the seats of Tamil Nadu, where a drop in turnout doesn't mean that BJP is winning those seats. It simply means even the opposition people are realizing ye to jeetna hi jeetna hai na, why to go out and magan maro in that way. So so this entire block is kind of affirmative of sort on how many seats we can say that, okay, these are like in US we used to say, we say blue seats and red seats and blue states and red states, very less number of purple states. Exactly what is happening over here. The number of purple states has actually gone down to 5 in India, and number of seats which are purple seats in that way, going around various places. I don't think outside those 5 states, the number of purple seats are more than 25 in all.
Very interesting. Now, your running hypothesis through this election campaign has been that the 2 states that are going to be the mother of all battles are Maharashtra and Bengal. We have spoken about Maharashtra right now. The Prime Minister, in an interview to ANI, has spoken about Bengal. And I'm going to play out that clip for you because very interestingly, he is arguing that Bengal is going to be the BJP's best performance, obviously relative, but he believes that Bengal is going to bring in that spectacular headline for the BJP. Take a look and we'll come right back.
इस बार पूरे हिंदुस्तान में द बेस्ट परफॉर्मिंग स्टेट कोई होगा तो पश्चिम बंगाल होने वाला है। भारतीय जनता पार्टी को सर्वाधिक सफलता पश्चिम बंगाल में मिल रही है और पश्चिम बंगाल का चुनाव एक तरफा है।
So this is interesting, and of course it could be you could read it as a political statement, you could read it as a standalone statement. How do you read it?
I take that very seriously when he says that, because I understand many things politicians and even he himself have been saying for Chartopath, which I have always maintained that it's more like a psychological warfare rather than the actual target. But Bengal is something different. I was going through the reports of Indian Express the other day, and where the reporters have reported the anti-incumbency in Bengal is right now working against Mamata. There is anger and anti-incumbency, but it is actually, they are treating it more like a state subject state in that way rather than a national thing. And because an alternative is there in that way, national way, so many of them. So what is happening in Bengal in our tracker also, Barkha, we did point out this one, that Bengal is a very unusual state. It is the only state in India where BJP actually entered the rural side, countryside, and then expanded to the urban areas. In all other states of India, BJP was a Shahar ki party, urban party, and then it spread out to the rural countryside. So Bengal is where they entered rural, but the Bhadralok of Bengal remained steadfast with Mamata because she was the core of the Bengali urban consciousness, whatever you can say. Now, things in tracker that we realize that there is a weird migration pattern that is going on. BJP is entering the Bhadralok and Mamata is reclaiming the rural. So there is a kind of a transition which is going on. That is why all of the Bengal seats are now look like battleground. While earlier, out of 42, I would have said that Barkha, about 15 seats here and 10 seats here, 25 seats are like kind of pre-decided. And the remaining in the middle are the battleground state. Right now in West Bengal, I will tell you, Barkha, that actually almost 38 seats in Bengal, in a way, are battleground. Only 4 seats, I can say that, okay, it's kind of pre-decided. I will not take the names right now, but it's like kind of pre-decided. Isme kuch hone wala nahi. But 38 seats in West Bengal are right now in real good contest. And when I say real good contest, you have to actually be very, very observant that day, because with every round of counting, you are likely to see the change in, the tallies or the leads this way or that way in those 38 seats in West Bengal.
And it actually furthers your theory that where there is fierce competition, there is high turnout. Bengal has seen handsome turnout.
Absolutely. I mean, and no, it doesn't tell us who is going to win. I'm telling honestly, the drop in the turnout or the increase of the turnout doesn't necessarily tell us it is anti-incumbent, pro-incumbent. No, none of those inferences can be taken. But yes, what we can understand, how the public looks at those contests, whether they are realizing, yeah, ek tarfa hai, whether they are realizing, no, it is a good fight and we should go out, it matters. My vote matters. In the states or seats which are conceived one-sided, perceived one-sided, I think the overall inclination to go out, something creeps in Barkha, that my vote is not that important. कि मेरे जाने से कोई असर पड़ेगा, मैं हार रहा हूं तो असर नहीं पड़ रहा है, मैं जीत रहा हूं तो भी असर नहीं पड़ रहा है, नहीं भी गया तो क्या फर्क. That sentiment creeps.
Okay, now let's zoom out. We've taken a look at turnout. We've looked at Bengal and Maharashtra as those ferocious battleground states. There are two distinct narratives even after 6 phases of this election. Usually 6 phase ke baad you kind of believe कि यार ये election ऐसी है या ये election ऐसी है. And it's not that these are the only 2 individuals who have made these arguments, but they have come to be faces of these arguments. There is Yogendra Yadav on the one side, who says कि majority से कम बीजेपी आ रही है और एनडीए भी possibly can fall below majority. दूसरी तरफ है प्रशांत किशोर, हमारे इंटरव्यू से शुरुआत हुई, उसके बाद बहुत सारे इंटरव्यूज हुए, वो कहते हैं बीजेपी वापस आ रही है, बेहतरीन परफॉर्मेंस भी हो सकती है, बट स्टेटस को तो है पक्का, बट मिस्टर मोदीज ब्रांड, he argues, is in decline. Opposition की फेलिंग है कि वो वापस आ रही है. These are two completely divergent narratives. Yashwant.
So I lost the last line of yours. You said that these are the completely divergent things.
I said these are two completely divergent narratives. How do you look at them? How do you look at them?
So they, I mean, honestly speaking, both these gentlemen are obviously not talking about empirical data because they don't carry the burden of being Yashwant Deshmukh or Sanjay Kumar or Pradeep, because we know the data and we cannot quote it because of election commission. But yeah, I mean, as a politician, I say that, okay, one is telling you the worst case scenario, one is telling you the best case scenario. So now, the best and the worst case scenarios, what we can say is that, let's become the devil's advocate and see the other way around. Okay, if I play a devil's advocate that, okay, Yogenji is right, even his worst case scenario, let's take it on the face value. Does he comfortably say that his worst case scenario is also making NDA almost reaching majority? You know, it's like कि हम बीजेपी तो नहीं पा रही है मेजॉरिटी और एनडीए को भी हम कोशिश करके हम बस रोक ही लेंगे. सो अगर वो उनका अपना खुद का बेस्ट केस सिनेरियो अगर यही पहुंच रहा है कि एनडीए बीजेपी इज नॉट गेटिंग मेजॉरिटी एंड एनडीए को हम रोक लेंगे, then obviously the odds are very clear in that way, even from the perspective of योगेन जी. अब अगर योगेन जी को मैं वो अपने राजस्थान के डोला बाजार के वो सट्टा बाजार वाला जो आता रहता है बीच बीच में, इफ आई पुट इन देयर योगेन जी अपना पैसा लगाओ, then फलौदी में कि योगेन जी पैसा लगाइए कहां पे, अपनी ही बात पे बोलूंगा कि लगा दो तो योगेन जी 100 रुपए कहां लगा के आएंगे. That would be a question which hypothetically I should be asking Yogenji in good humor, but that's how it is. Now coming down to what Prashant Kishore said. Prashant Kishore ji again is the politician for all practical matters. Yeah, I mean, he has taken the best case scenario, you know, in that way. I did not listen to that full interview because नहीं देख पाया उस चीज को, लेकिन जितना मैंने पढ़ा या उस तरीके से, so he has taken a contrasting position from Yogendra Yadav in that way. The truth lies somewhere in between, you know. So I say, if you want to see the empirical evidence with the truth, then pick up the issue of India Today on 26 January का जो हमारा MOTN था. Somewhere, I mean, going by these two extremes, I would consider the truth is somewhere in between there with the empirical evidence. But even the best case scenario of Yogenji and the worst case scenario of BJP in that matter, you know, are something like BJP below 272 mark and NDA touching a majority. That's what I read from the best case scenario of Yogendra Yadav and the worst case scenario of Prashant Kishore is considered. But obviously they have to be taken, all those assessments have to be taken with a lot of not just pinch but a lot of salt, and we shall wait for the first, when the empirical evidence of the numbers, at least in vote share and everything, comes out, and then we shall wait on the fourth that how good and far were we with the data, rather than
absolutely. So I want to explain to my audience, you have data that the Election Commission guidelines forbids you from detailing in the public, because there's still one more phase of voting left, and data is not supposed to influence people's voting choices. That's the reason you can't refer to it. But मोटा मोटा सवाल है कि election turn हुई है या नहीं हुई. Let's, you know, has something changed? If something has changed, what is that something? Have narratives changed? ठीक है, 400 par was a psychological slogan. I think you said that from the beginning. So, and 272 is all it takes to form the government. But a government formed at 272 arguably is different from a government formed at 303, arguably is different from a government formed with 330. So my question to you is this: has something shifted, or is this a media cliche?
Well, something has shifted from the perspective that I could not sense the heat of the election as such on the roads in that way. Now, that could also be a running commentary on how India as a country and democracy has progressed, Barkha, because these days all of us are reading and expressing ourselves on social media and WhatsApp and everything. So there is no need, as such, for people to come out on the streets. So the mode of communications have shifted. So basically, this election tells me that India's democracy has taken a turn in terms of campaign, where the traditional forms of campaign have kind of gone for good. Even the rallies that we talk about, itne ki ho gayi
Can
aur
you
utne ki
can you
ho gayi.
explain that traditional forms of campaigning
I
are going to
think
be
the
obsolete?
door-to-door campaign, Barkha, which was the old form, Jhanda and
Ah,
all the banners and all that, where people used to go out, look at those visuals of Jhanda tanga hai, banner laga hai, poster
hmm.
laga hai, those visual forms of communication, those are the old form of communication that are gone. Because now the same Jhanda, same banner, same thing is coming here on my screen for all the parties. So this has become my new graffiti wall, where 24/7 I am being campaigned, I have been persuaded by different WhatsApp group, friends are fighting with each other, arguing with each other, and I'm listening to them. I am just reading, aaj kisne kisko gariya diya, and even and we have got a zillion groups, right from the school KG or first ke jo friends the, unse lekar ke abhi tak ke colleagues and the agony aunts and the ghar ke group and all that kind of group. So these are the best thing is everybody right now in India, everybody is a psephologist simply because he has that empirical data. But on a serious note, everybody is going through what is happening in the different WhatsApp groups, and everybody filters that information, most of them, as per their own line of affinity, argument, and this way and that way. So there are huge data points, campaigning points on handsets of a billion odd people out there. Now, obviously, they are so absorbed with that one, they do not even have time to look at the poster, jhanda, banner, blah 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 blah. They just don't have the time in that way. Now, the traditional form of the rallies, that is also, I guess, this is probably the one of the last few stages where you are still gonna see physical presence of the people on the ground. Because Barkha, since 2014, we are witnessing another trend. Rallies are being televised. So rally is not just a rally for those thousands of people on the ground, but they are for a billion odd population when it is televised. This is why what leaders say in the rally, the content has changed. Earlier, the rally content used to be hyper local. कि हम हाजीपुर में जाएंगे तो हम हाजीपुर की बात करेंगे, बेगूसराय जाएंगे तो but now they know I am standing in Hajipur, but my rally is being beamed and somebody in Kerala is also watching it. So the content will be addressing all sort of audience wherever they are. So that form has changed, and that is a remarkable change in that way, because for many reasons we still have to scientifically investigate what has been the impact as such in terms of the, understanding of democracy and people's participation. So that is the biggest change that I witnessed right now. On
But
the
talking,
turnout thing, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
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 No, go ahead. You
No,
complete
I mean,
first.
otherwise, other than that, honestly speaking, I don't consider much has changed, because, as on the turnout, I said the final figures are more or less on the lines where they were supposed to be. The drop and swing and upswing of the turnout were on the expected lines, which we have been saying in the trackers, that which are the lopsided and which are the good contest states, and that turnout and down turnout thing is holding true. I don't see much that has changed in that perspective. I don't see any warning signs. I don't see any red flags.
So you don't feel any political tectonic shifts.
Honestly speaking, I don't sense that, because अगर वो होता है बरखा तो टेक्टोनिक शिफ्ट आपको दिखता है. नाउ यू हैव ट्रेवल्ड फ्रॉम कन्याकुमारी टू कश्मीर एंड बैक.
Yeah.
If there was that tectonic shift, Barkha, it would have reflected you on the ground. If you have, when you were talking to people,
Yeah.
you would have found people extremely agitated, hyper, or extremely excited, extremely bullish. So now either neither you have found people to be extremely agitated and angry, nor you have found people to be extremely happy and gung-ho about the things. तो पीपल आर लाइकली जिसे जिसे कहते हैं ना गुनगुने. It's lukewarm, if I may say so. But when you talk to them, they answer. They answer, and you also realize that I don't see much of a gray area, Barkha. That's a funny thing in my data as well. I realize when I go through the data, people talk with much clarity. They have their reasons, and voting is not a one issue decision, Barkha. Always remember, all of us, voting is actually a cumulative decision. People have multiple layers of reasonings. When they finally get down to that thing, I will go for that. Because we have a tendency to analyze people mandate in a oversimplistic way कि पुलवामा हो गया और वो हो गया, और स्ट्राइक हो गई तो हो गया, अयोध्या मंदिर बन गया तो हो गया. It never works actually. It's a cumulative decision, and people are very clear in their decision why and where they voted. And this is why the number of people who are deciding in the last, very last, that number is shrinking.